Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you another action movie, QMR. That's right, we're here to talk about the 1989 Punisher, as well as Drive, Bridge of Dragons, and Blackwater. Yeah, going with a bit of a Dolph Lundgren theme here. At first I felt weird mixing these together because there's only one movie I'm talking about in this video without Dolph in it. But I just thought it'd be good to get these all together so I didn't miss out on talking about one of them and one of them getting lost in the shuffle or something a week or two from now. You don't want that to happen with any of these, so here we are now. Still been plugging away and watching my horror movies here and there as well, but I've still just been really enjoying work from so many of these types of stars as well. It's a newfound love I've had for this sort of genre over the past few months, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. So the first one we're going to talk about is The Punisher from 1989. This is actually the first live-action Punisher film. And yes, it starred Dolph Lundgren as well as Louis Gossett Jr. And you guys know the story of the Punisher. He loses his family, so he unleashes his own type of justice or punishment more so on evildoers, criminals, stuff like that. And Dolph, is our first live action one. So going into this, I had tempered expectations basically because I have become a big fan of Dolph Lundgren. I've always liked Dolph, but over the past few months, I've just grown to be like a pretty massive fan of his, honestly. And at the same time, it is an 80s movie, so you got to keep your expectations or perspective a certain way on it when you can kind of think of how story or a character like this would sort of be adapted in that time period. So it's not that surprising that they made it into sort of like an 80s, 90s sort of action movie vibe to it, really. And this wasn't at Dolph's height of his ability, I think, both as an actor and as a just a physical performer. I do think he became a better actor, especially performance-wise, over the years after this. But he still fit like the steely, sort of cold gaze presence of the Punisher. He is a little flat here and there, but it sort of gets hidden within the characters because he's supposed to be more removed and everything like that. There's more to the Punisher than that, though, and that's the other side of it because I love the Punisher as a character, man. The Punisher as a character is very, very close to my heart. The Thomas Jane Punisher in 2004 is my favorite comic book movie of all time, and it's one of my favorite movies ever in general. I have some fondness, I have some enjoyment out of Warzone, and I absolutely loved John Bernthal's portrayal of it on the Netflix shows. So I had a lot of high expectations, but I wasn't expecting anything psychologically deep or well explored with this one. Again, I knew it was kind of turned into more of a straight up action movie for the time it was made in. And on that end, it's not too bad, really. It's definitely probably my least favorite of the Punisher movies we've gotten so far. But it's going up against some stiff competition. And it's not bad for what it is. It's just hard to compare something like this to, the more realistic approach they took to, like, the Bernthal one and stuff like that. But not bad. There's a couple good, shootout sequences and some decent hand-to-hand stuff near the end of it. Dolph does a fine job, for the time it was made. Louis Gossett Jr. as his partner, I believe. I did like their dynamic. A little bit different than some of the other films. So yeah, not a bad time. Just if you go in sort of knowing the type of version of this character you're going to be getting, or the type of movie this character is in, then I think it won't be too bad for you. Or if you're a massive Dolph Lundgren fan, you'll probably get even more enjoyment out of it than your typical viewer. So yeah, if I had to rate this, if I had to rate the 89 Punisher, excuse the sound there, I'd have to say like a 76%, a solid C, somewhere in there. So yeah, next up we're going to be talking about Drive, which stars Mark Dacascos and came out in 1997, also starring Keaton Harrison. And yeah, this one was a little bit more random for me in terms of when I watched it. Well, sort of. My brother and I, we have a mutual love and enjoyment for these types of movies, and this is one he was highly recommending for the longest time. It's available on Amazon Prime, like a couple of these other ones are. And he kept insisting on this movie, on Mark Dacascos. Excuse that sound again. Who I only really knew from Iron Chef America as the chairman, or the one of the judge type guys or whatever on that. I knew he had some kind of film career and everything like that, but I never really explored his work before until this. And this film completely embraces the type of genre it's in. It's very it's self-aware. It's not meant to be a parody necessarily or anything, but definitely plays with a lot of the norms of the genre, I think, and doesn't really try to subvert them, but more so embraces them, makes it for pretty fun time, I'd say. Mark Dacascos is convincing in his role, as this well, if I can read you the IMDb sum up here. A prototype enhanced human on the run from Chinese hired hitmen hooks up with a dreadlocked bystander, and the two of them elude their pursuers narrowly each time. But yeah, so there's a little touch of sci-fi there, which I didn't mind either. It makes the end fight even more crazy than it already would have been. The fight scenes are pretty sharp in this movie. I mean, I was pretty taken back by them, because at first you feel like the editing's too fast, which it kind of is sometimes, but then you realize it's also like a lot of sharp camera angles and movements and stuff like that to sort of emphasize, or enhance the pace of it, I guess. And you'll still get these shots where you see Mark Dacascos do some kind of crazy shit. And sure, they might have used something to speed up scenes a little bit. But really, you can see just how smooth Dacascos is able to pull off certain moves and the varying kicks and stuff like that. You can tell it's still him doing it for the most part. So I was fairly impressed by that. Also by the dynamic between our two lead characters here. At first, Mark Dacascos' character is pretty self-serious, pretty closed off to what he's trying to do or what he's running from. But then as they spend more time traveling together, they sort of start bantering with each other and picking on each other in various ways. It becomes kind of fun. I also didn't mind the female who ends up getting roped into it along with him eventually. The more I think about this movie, the more I actually liked it quite a bit. I mean, I feel like it's one that's actually pretty rewatchable, one you could turn on while you're doing something. I don't want to insult it like that, though, but it's also one you could turn on like a late Saturday, Sunday night or something with a girlfriend and have a fairly good time if she's willing to indulge you in this type of genre. It's a pretty I don't want to say casual one of these, but it's a very accessible, very sort of easy watch for me. I feel like I could actually flip on at any time, which I mean as a compliment. I just might not be explaining it right. I'm even seeking out the DVD for it right now, which is kind of expensive on Amazon, but I do plan on finding a way to grab it at some point. But yeah, Drive, Mark Dacascos. I'm actually giving it over a C+ at this point. I'm giving it like I don't know. I think I'm thinking like a 82% right now. Basically a B minus, somewhere in there. I won't mind watching again. It does make me want to seek out more of his work in the genre. I know he's in John Wick 3 right now, but I mean more starring, classic roles and stuff like that. But yeah, I actually like this one. And moving right along, we have Bridge of Dragons, once again starring Dolph Lundgren, as well as, I can't pronounce his name, but he is notorious for his roles in the Mortal Kombat movie, among other things in the genre as well. Valerie Chow, Gary Hudson, and it tells the story of a tough and cold mercenary war child who is working for the man who took care of his war training and upbringing, the greedy General Wu Chang, who is planning to take over the country by marrying the princess. But she discovers that Wu Chang killed her father to gain more power than he had working for the king, so he decides to run away. She decides to run away. World Child is the one who has to bring her back to Wu Chang, but the one thing that no one counted on happens. War Child and her fall in love, and together they take on the forces of Wu Chang. So yeah, that one was a little, extended for the IMDb premise there, but yeah, Bridge of Dragons. It's another one available on Amazon Prime. Again, big Dolph Lundgren fan at this point, and I actually enjoyed this one quite a bit. Probably one of my two favorite movies I'm talking about in this video. And to me, it comes off like a very classic, sort of martial arts kung fu action movie. It's this type of world where it's not technically in the past, but the sort of society and just culture have fallen back into like this old way of things. So you got a lot of like almost samurai type stuff mixed in with helicopters and cars and machine guns and stuff like that. It makes it for a lot of fun, a lot of varied sort of action and fight sequences. There's some solid choreography throughout. Dolph Lundgren, I think this is one of his sort of better, more earlier on performances, I guess, even though this one was in 99. Again, it feels like an older movie than it is, even for 99. It feels like it could have been made in like the 80s or 90s, or around like his Masters of the Universe time or something like that. But it wasn't. Now the love story is a little cheesy, but I can tell they did try a little bit there. Valerie, who played the princess, I actually think had some nice moments with Dolph Lundgren. The best moment in the movie is probably when War Child, Dolph Lundgren's character, decides to stand against the general. And that moment there, there's such an awesome shot with Dolph Lundgren's kick there, and the way it's the way it's shot, the way it's filmed. It makes me want to put it in a music video or something. Maybe I'll put it in my intro at one point. Who knows? But I like the sort of classic, sort of action-adventure nature of it all as well. And then how it plays out at the end is, predictable but very satisfying, like a lot of these movies are. It gives you kind of what you're wanting with it. I think it's honestly a Dolph Lundgren one that's kind of flew under the radar. And oddly enough, I actually think I like it more than the Punisher movie, which is odd, but it's the case here. If I had to rate Bridge of Dragons, I'm giving it about like an 85-87%. I do want to watch it again. I have it in this like 7-film Dolph Lundgren set, which is nice. $5 for 7 movies, guys, Jesus. But it's one of them I may actually want to buy on its own at some point. I did like it that much. I don't mind it standing out more in my collection. So yeah, Bridge of Dragons, like it quite a bit. And now moving on to the last movie for this video, and that is Black Water, which just came out last year in 2018, and stars Dolph Lundgren, co-starring with, yes, the Jean-Claude Van Damme. And this is like a movie made in heaven, sort of, for, massive fans of the both of them. They've starred in, a good handful of movies together now, a bunch of the Universal Soldier films, one of the Expendables movies, and now this. But why this is one that could be so special for fans of the two is because they're actually sort of allies in this, which is very weird. It's weird, but at the same time it's very cool. It's almost like a geek out kind of thing if you love both their work. It's very cool to actually see them work together and have some sort of camaraderie in the movie, as it goes along. Dolph Lundgren's role in this is kind of at a minimum, really. I wouldn't say it's one of those where it's like falsely promoting him, because there are those kind of cheaper movies where like they'll, Danny Trejo's in this, or so and so's in this, we'll put him right on the cover, but then he's barely in any of it, or he gets killed off in 5 minutes. It's not quite like that. But he's sort of, as my brother said, sprinkled throughout, and then he gets his big moment, with Van Damme, near the higher points of the movie, which I liked. And now the IMDb premise for this is much more brief. A deep cover operative awakens to find himself imprisoned in a CIA black site on a submarine. So you have this whole kind of conspiracy story with this. You get a little bit of a flashback to how he ended up there, which I didn't mind as well. Now this kind of fits in with Van Damme's sort of chunk of films like Kill 'Em All, like Pound of Flesh, different films. The Bouncer and We Die Young recently are kind of different films. They're not action films; they're more drama based. But yeah, this one with those other movies I mentioned, along with like Six Bullets or something, kind of fits in with those more so. But I think this, along with Kill 'Em All, maybe my two favorites. It was like most recent action type films anyway. I do like the premise of it. I think it's very good. I've seen some people complain about it, like, I thought this was going to be Under Siege or something, but it's like cheap crap or whatever. I'd watched this movie about 20 times plus before I watched Under Siege. I don't know, I'm just not really a Steven Seagal lover for both his screen performance and his own, how he handles his own life and his perception of others and the way he treats others. It's just a weird thing, but we don't want to talk about Seagal right now. This movie I like, though. It's a recent one, so people complain that Van Damme doesn't throw enough kicks, this or that. But there's still some good shootouts in this. I like all the sort of stealth they have to do around the submarine and such. How the crew eventually gets wrapped up in it. Dolph Lundgren's role, like I said, is kind of scattered, but it's still fun. And when Van Damme first meets him there near the beginning, it's just funny how he's just sort of listening to everything and sort of laughing, and has his glasses on, reading and such. So I do like how he's integrated into it. There's a little twist near the end. And also Jasmine Waltz, who plays Cass, sort of aligned with the bad guys near the beginning. But she sort of sympathizes with Van Damme as she sees him. She's pretty good too. I liked her. You can tell she's in it for eye candy, but I thought she fit in fine. Chris Van Damme is also in this. Van Damme's son again, sort of like his Kill 'Em All role. Then you have gotta mention. Excuse me. Just lost that for a second. But yeah, Patrick Kilpatrick, who is actually kind of notorious for being with Van Damme in Death Warrant, which was one of Van Damme's older, more classic style films. He was actually the main bad guy in that. So it's kind of a nice nod to see him pop up here. Would have liked him to be in it more. It's Al Sapienza, who basically takes over as our main antagonist here, who's fine. I've seen him in a number of random things over the years. He's one of those guys you've seen in a lot, but you can't really pinpoint something specific. But he is fine. As like the conniving leader of it all, string puller. But one of those bad guys that can't really stand a chance when he gets physical with one of the two. But it works all right. And I think the movie moved at a decent pace. It was like an hour and 45 minutes. Almost started feeling a little bit long, but I think they knew how to space out the moments they wanted to stand out a little bit more. And like I said, when we do see Van Damme and Lundgren on screen together, it is a nice time. Just to see them, like, there's a scene where they look at each other and sort of smirk and laugh a little, and it's kind of refreshing to see them actually have a positive dynamic in the movie. And Lundgren gets a fun scene sort of leading some of the bad guys into a trap over a walkie-talkie and everything. It's pretty humorous. And so if I had to rate Blackwater, I liked it. I'm giving it like an 86, 87%. Some people might feel like I'm overrating it, or going kind of easy on these movies, but if you enjoy a movie, you enjoy a movie, and that's the main point of it. It's all up to it's all in the eye of the beholder too, all that jazz, right? So yeah, overall, I honestly enjoyed all these films. I don't know if I ever want to start like ranking movies I talk about in QMRs or anything. But my two favorites were probably Blackwater and Bridge of Dragons. Followed by Drive, I guess. Maybe. Depends on my mood, but the Punisher movie is, just compared to everything else, it's just not quite what I'm looking for the character, but it's a fine movie, again, for the time it came out. I'm not saying it was awful or anything, but anyway, let me know you guys thought about all of these. What's your favorite out of them? Any more recommendations for me? You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.